The shocking truth about the Black Maid: she never knew the guest owned the hotel until midnight. The lobby was alive with chatter. Luxurious chandeliers twinkled overhead, casting shimmering shadows on the grand marble floor. But beneath the surface glamour, unease brewed like a storm. A figure in the corner sat, a black maid clad in crisp white, blending into the mist of opulence around her. Her name was Clara, and tonight was unlike any other. She was aware of the secret glances, the whispers that flitted like bats in the dark. She never knew the depth of the secrets hiding just an arm's length away until she stumbled upon the truth at the stroke of midnight. The clock echoed, its deep chime vibrating through the silence. Clara's heart raced, pounding painfully against her ribcage. Moments before, she had been polishing silverware, her mind occupied with mundane tasks. Now, her world twisted as she noticed the heavy door quietly creak open. A tall silhouette stepped inside a guest, or so she thought. Strikingly confident yet strangely familiar, the figure moved with an aura of authority that sent a shiver down her spine. Just then, Clara's gaze sharpened. A flash of recognition struck her. It wasn't an average guest at all. The man's expensive suit whispered of power, and she could almost taste the tension in the air. Was it coincidence? Or was there something darker at play? As the man approached, Clara felt her breath hitch in her throat, a tightening knot forming. In that moment, she had collected enough clues to know this was no ordinary hotel patron. Something twisted lurked beneath the surface. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Clara's hands trembled as the man flashed a smile, that smile sending a rush of adrenaline coursing through her veins. He was charming, but her instincts screamed danger. The way he commanded the room, how the other guests stole cautious glances toward him, this was a man of influence. The heavy air pressed down on her as she stumbled backward, unknowingly stepping into a web she wasn't prepared to face. She had to find out more, and as midnight loomed, she felt an inexplicable pull to uncover the truth behind this mysterious figure. What did he want? Or was he hiding more than just a name? The questions swirled in her mind, each one darker than the last, as the night around her deepened into uncertainty. Clara's instinct screamed at her to retreat, to blend back into the shadows where she felt safe. But the man's piercing gaze held her captive, the kind of eyes that seemed to peer right through her. He strolled closer, each step heavy with purpose, as if he were used to having the world adjust to his presence. "Good evening," he said, his voice smooth like silk, yet with an edge that hinted at something far more dangerous. Clara's breath hitched. She struggled to respond, but words eluded her. This was no simple encounter. It was charged with a tension that clawed at her throat. "Nice to meet you," she finally managed, though it felt as insubstantial as the air between them. He chuckled, a sound that sent pricks of unease across her skin. "I've seen you around. You do your job well. This place runs on diligent hands like yours." His compliment dripped with a condescension that made her skin crawl. She forced a nod, feeling the weight of his appraisal like a heavy cloak. "Have you ever wondered what really goes on behind the scenes here?" His question was casual, but his smirk suggested a deeper understanding. Clara's stomach twisted. What did he know? She wavered, unsure if she should engage or retreat. Her thoughts ping-ponged between the precarious situation and the pounding of her heart. An unsettling notion crept up her spine: this man was not here by chance. Suddenly, a loud crash erupted from the adjoining ballroom, shattering the facade of elegance. Guests gasped, whipped around, and Clara instinctively turned her head, eyes darting toward the commotion. A chandelier had swayed ominously, casting broken light across the gathering crowd. The loud, jarring noise jolted her back to her senses. "Let us not lose focus, shall we?" he said, his voice low, smooth like honey, laced now with a menacing calm. Clara gulped, locking eyes with him again. There was knowledge lurking there, something sinister that sent adrenaline racing through her veins. Slowly, instinctively, she took a step back, her mind racing. Was this man connected to the chaos? Was he the reason the chandelier had trembled? Maybe it was a sign, a signal of impending danger she couldn't ignore. "Tell me, do you believe in fate, Clara?" he asked, eyes narrowing, his smirk twisting into something far more predatory. "Or perhaps coincidences? Like working in a hotel owned by a man you didn't even know held the keys to your future?" Her heart dropped. How did he know her name? And the implications embedded in his words sent horror coursing through her veins. She felt hunted, exposed under his scrutinizing gaze. In that moment, the world around her faded. It was just the two of them, trapped in a web of dark secrets and unspoken truths. She had wandered too close to the flame, and now the shadows might consume her. Before she could gather her thoughts, the clock struck 1. The sudden chime sent the room into a panic as a shadowy figure materialized in the doorway behind the man. A chill gripped Clara's heart. Who was this new player in the game? "Things are about to get interesting," the man whispered, turning his attention to the newcomer. Clara knew she had to act, and fast. This meeting felt like the beginning of a storm, and she was caught in its crosshairs. The truth was starting to unravel, but at what cost? Was she ready to confront whatever lay ahead, or would she retreat back into her mundane existence, forever haunted by the choices she would make tonight? As chaos erupted around her, Clara knew she had to make a decision. Unravel the mystery entangled with the man before her or slip away into the darkness, leaving everything unknown. The clock continued its relentless ticking, and Clara's pulse quickened. The moment was drawing near. Clara's heart raced as she wrestled with the growing dread that enveloped her. The shadowy figure now moved closer, stepping into the glow of the dim chandelier light. Her breath caught in her throat. This was no ordinary guest. The air around them changed, charged with an unshakable energy. She could feel the unnerving gaze of the man still fixed on her, but her focus was drawn to the newcomer. Was he friend or foe? "Hello, Gerald," he said, voice laced with irony. Clara recognized the name. Gerald was the hotel owner, a man she had never seen before behind the scenes. "I was wondering when you would show up. I have a proposal for you." Gerald's expression darkened, his eyes narrowing. "And I have a few questions for you. How did you find her?" The tension thickened like fog as confusion washed over Clara. Her instinct screamed at her to flee, but she stood frozen, absorbing the confrontation. Who was Gerald, really? Was he part of this web, or was he trying to protect her? She sensed the stakes rising, and the chaos around them began to fade into an eerie quiet. The other man, this calculating figure, smirked. Now. Let us not get ahead of ourselves. Clara has a role to play in all this. Don't you, Clara? His gaze turned back to her, an unsettling grin stretching across his face, revealing sharp edges of danger. Clara willed her legs to move, but she felt rooted. I don't know what you mean, she stammered. What do you want from me? Gerald stepped forward, attempting to shield her. Stay away from her. Whatever you think you're doing here, it ends now. Ah, but the game has just begun, the man cooed softly, almost mockingly. There are secrets within these walls that even you don't know about, Gerald. And Clara, darling, you're standing on the edge of darkness. Are you afraid to take a step in? Panic rippled through Clara at the thought of being in such dangerous waters. What secrets? What was it about this place that kept people like this man tethered to it? The weight of his words pressed down on her, like a heavy stone sinking into her chest. Everything felt surreal, like she had been thrust into some twisted novel where she was the unwitting protagonist. A sudden scream echoed from the ballroom, fracturing the tension. Clara instinctively turned her head, and that small shift was all the opening the man needed. He stepped toward her, a predator closing in. "Don't think of running, sweetheart. I know all about your past, and your ties to this hotel run deeper than you know." Clara's breath hitched again. "What do you mean? What do you know?" "Ah, but time is a fickle thing, and the clock is ticking." He nodded to the wall clock, its hands making their slow, deliberate march toward midnight. "When it strikes 12, revelations will unfold, and you will finally comprehend how entwined your fate is with this place." Before Clara could respond, he twisted dramatically, gesturing dismissively towards Gerald. "A mere puppet, caught in his own strings. You have the option, Clara. Join me or stay with him and continue a life of ignorance." A deep, throbbing conflict asserted itself within Clara. The allure of uncovering truth battled against the instinct to flee that pulsed through her veins. What choice would she make? Footsteps echoed in the distance, shadows loomed closer, and the clock kept ticking. Clara's choice was becoming painfully imminent. Would she dare to step into the light of revelation, or retreat into the obscurity of the past, forever haunted by questions she dared not ask? Choose wisely, Clara. Midnight waits for no one. As he stepped back into the murky shadows, Clara felt the weight of the delicate moment bear down on her. The storm was brewing, and she was at its eye. What awaited her on the other side of the clock's last chime? The clock ticked ominously in the background, each second heightening the pressure in the air. Clara's heart hammered in her chest, each thud echoing like a warning bell. What did this man know about her? Why was she so vital to the chaos unfolding around her? Gerald stood like a bulwark between her and this looming threat, but she could see the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. Was he truly her protector, or was he hiding secrets that could shatter everything she thought she understood? "Clara, please, just stay behind me," Gerald urged, his voice steady but laced with a thin veneer of fear. "We can what?" The man interjected, a cruel smile curling his lips. "Run away? Hide in the shadows like frightened mice? That's not the answer, Gerald." Clara felt the room swirling around her, emotions crashing over her: fear, confusion, and a hint of reckless curiosity. The words "join me" clung to her like a wet blanket. They tempted her to dive deeper into a mystery that felt intoxicating yet horrifying. Gerald's tone was firm but pleading. "You have to trust me. Whatever he says, it's a trap." "Trust you?" she blurted, her voice raw. "You've hidden everything from me. You're the one caught in mysteries. Do you even know what's true anymore?" The man laughed, a cold, echoing sound that slithered into the corners of the ballroom. "Ah, sweet Clara, don't you see? The truth is a tangled web, and you are woven into it in ways you cannot yet comprehend. But by midnight, you will understand." Suddenly, another scream pierced through the thick tension, sharper this time, more frantic. Clara's heart sank as she recognized it: Emily, her friend. She looked toward the sound, and instinct urged her to move. If there were danger in the halls, her friend was at its center. "Wait, Clara." Gerald reached out, but she was already sprinting toward the door. The urgency of the moment pushed her forward, driven by love and fear. Just as Clara opened the door, its old hinges groaning in protest, she caught sight of a shadow flitting across the hallway, a figure blended with darkened walls. She hesitated for a brief moment, glancing back at Gerald. "You don't understand what's at stake," he shouted, desperate. "But I can't leave Emily," she yelled back, breaking from the grip of the moment and stepping into the corridor. The carpet swallowed her footsteps as she plunged into the depths of the darkness. "Clara!" Gerald called after her, his voice heavy with dread. She barely registered his tone. Her focus was on the flickering lights ahead, where chaos seemed to swirl. In her mind, The contrasts fought fiercely, shadows dancing, whispers coiling like smoke, and the sound of hurried footsteps drawing nearer. As she pressed on, she found herself at the entry to the ballroom. The grand double doors swung open, revealing faces frozen in horror. Distant murmurs washed over her like crashing waves. What terror had unfolded? Clara stepped inside, and the spectacle before her stole the breath from her lungs. There stood Emily, shaken and pale, her eyes wide in disbelief. Just beyond her, another figure, a tall, imposing silhouette with a familiar smirk, loomed in the chaotic atmosphere. "Welcome back, Clara," the man from earlier greeted, tilting his head slightly as if admiring a masterpiece. Her resolve wavered. This was no mere game. This was a revelation yet to be unveiled. "Emily, run!" Clara shouted, but a chilling laugh cut through the air. Clara turned her gaze back to the man, but it was too late. Shadows swirled, and the ballroom door slammed shut behind her, locking her and her fate inside. "Clara, you're just in time. Midnight is nearly here, and with it, the truth will shatter all illusions." The clock chimed softly in the distance, each toll reverberating through Clara's core. As the last note hung, the world around her shifted, the air crackling with unsettling promise. What horrifying truths were about to emerge from the abyss, and what role would she truly play in their unfolding? "Time is almost up," the man said, his voice transforming into a dark whisper. "Will you join us, or will you let fear consume you?" The stage was set, her choice hung in the balance. Clara steeled herself, ready to confront the impending storm, knowing that the answer would change everything. The clock ticked once more, and the dance of fate began. Clara's eyes darted around the ballroom, the extravagant chandelier casting wavering shadows across shocked faces. Guests were frozen, some in mid-laughter, others with mouths agape. It was a tableau of disarray, but her heart was too heavy with fear and urgency to notice the precious moments slipping away. Emily's terrified gaze remained fixed on the man, her lips trembling as if she could barely form words. Finally, she managed, "Clara, we have to get out of here." Her voice was strained, choked with panic. "Not yet," he replied, his voice smooth as silk but laced with venom. "Don't you find it fascinating, ladies? The truth about hotel guests? How little you truly know the people who stay within these walls." He stepped forward, taking a leisurely stroll as if he owned the place, his imposing shadow hovering between them. Clara clenched her fists, anger surging through her. "Who are you? What do you want with us?" With a grin that sent shivers down her spine, he shrugged, letting the question hang in the air like mist. "Only to reveal the truth. Isn't it unutterably thrilling?" He turned, gesturing toward the frozen crowd. "You see, behind every mask lies a story, and I've come to collect them all tonight." The clock struck the first toll of midnight, echoing ominously. "Enough games!" Clara shouted, desperation flaring. She could feel the pulse of the room, the gathering dread, and refused to let it consume her. No longer concerned about the chaos swirling around her, she focused on her friend. "Emily, come on." But the man held up a hand, and the air thickened, drowning out Clara's resolve. Ah, but what would a game be without players? Without a little fear injected to spice things up? He chuckled darkly, eyes glinting. "You should know that fear has a way of drawing out the truth, Clara. And tonight, you will face yours." The second chime of the clock resonated like a warning shot, every beat wrapping around Clara like chains. She could feel the heat of the crowd's gazes, eyes boring into her, judging her choices. "Clara, don't listen." Emily's voice broke through the dive into madness, pulling Clara back from the edge. "This isn't just a party. It's something else. We have to stay focused." "Focused on what?" Clara retorted, the pressure building. "What can we possibly do when the truth is already out?" "It's not out yet," the man interrupted, his voice dipped in confidence. "But it will be. All your truths, all your lies. By the time this clock winds down, the pieces will fall into place. Emily raised her voice, shaking now. You're sick. You think using us as pawns is funny? Ah, my sweet girl, you misunderstand the game entirely. It's not about humor, it's about revelation. The guests, the blackmail, the secrets hidden in this hotel. He leaned closer, his breath cold against Clara's skin. Such a splendid little web. And you, Clara, are at the center of it all. Stop. Clara screamed, fear clawing at her throat. The walls seemed to close in, and every tick of the clock felt like a countdown to doom. Tell us what you want. Very well, he murmured, stepping back into the shadows. You'll find out soon enough. Just remember, all truths come at a price. The third chime rang, reverberating through the open space, making the chandeliers tremble. Clara's heart raced. What price would she have to pay? What secrets would be laid bare? The man turned, casting one last lingering look at Clara before stepping toward Emily. But you, dear Emily, might not be ready for what lies ahead. You may wish to shield your heart, but soon, even that sanctuary will crumble. And with that, he vanished into the fray of the ballroom, leaving Clara and Emily alone, trembling in the shadows of revelation. What does he mean? Emily quavered, gripping Clara's arms so tightly it hurt. Clara could only shake her head, confusion blurring her thoughts. The fourth chime rang out like the toll of death itself. With each echo, dread coiled tighter around her, leaving Clara to wonder whether the truth could indeed set her free or trap her forever. Clara. Gerald's voice broke through the haze. Frantic and filled with panic. We need to move. Now. What happened to him? Clara shot back, anxiety bubbling up again. Not now. He insisted, his urgency sparking her courage. I promise you will understand later. But if we don't leave this place, we may never know. With time slipping away and darkness advancing, Clara realized she stood at a precipice. Would she unravel the tangled truth, or would fear bind her forever? Go. Gerald urged. But the decision hung heavy in Clara's mind, her heart battling against her instincts. Could she truly escape the web of secrets surrounding her? Or would she unravel them all before midnight? The clock's final bongs resonated, and Clara's world spun, leaving her poised on the edge of something far greater than she could have imagined. Gerald grabbed Clara's wrist, pulling her through the crowd. The guests felt like statues, frozen in disbelief, some whispering hurriedly among themselves, their shock palpable. The air was thick with tension as Clara darted her eyes back to the place where the man had vanished. Something in her gut twisted, an insistent urge to understand the game he was playing. Gerald, wait! She shouted, tugging against his grip. What is going on? We can't just leave. His eyes were wild, the urgency cutting through the chaos. Clara, we don't have time. He is not just a threat to us, he is threatening everyone here. We need to find a way out. But he knows something, Clara insisted, the thought clawing at her insides. Whatever secrets he is weaving, we need to confront them. Gerald stared at her, his expression softening for just a moment. And what if the cost is too high? What if you're not ready for how deep it goes? Clara wavered, feeling the gravity of his words. But then the clock chimed again, deep and heavy, merging with the harsh pulse of her racing heart. She felt the urgency of the moment pressing down. Midnight was coming, and with it, all secrets would be unveiled. Come on! She exclaimed, breaking away from him. We can't run anymore. As she stepped back into the throng, a hush fell over the ballroom. Guests turned to watch her, eyes wide, like deer caught in headlights. Clara felt the weight of their stares, the expectation hanging thick in the air. She could feel the man's presence lingering, his promise of revelation cloaked in mystery. You want the truth? Clara called out, her voice tinged with desperation. Who is hiding what? What stories do you hold? In that moment, a ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd, faces turning pale. Each guest began whispering, casting glances at one another, confusion transforming into anxiety. Gerald rushed to her side, his voice a frantic whisper, "This isn't the way. You're stirring dark waters, Clara. But it's the only way to break the spell." She shot back, adrenaline coursing through her veins. The only way to find out the truth. Suddenly, the lights flickered, plunging the ballroom into momentary darkness before flaring back to life, now tinged with an eerie hue that echoed the dread gathering in her chest. Clara could see the shift in the crowd, a wave of nervous energy rippling through the guests, each face now a tapestry of fear and suspicion. From the shadows, the man re-emerged, a sinister smile playing on his lips. "Ah, the clock's final toll is nigh, and what do we have here? Brave little Clara, ready to unveil what lies beneath?" His voice dripped sweet sarcasm, each word a cutting taunt. Clara started, but the words faltered, caught in her throat as her eyes locked with his. "Save it," he interrupted, holding up a finger. "You'll get your answers soon enough. But remember, the truth doesn't just set you free, it chains you to the consequences of its revelation." Clara's heart raced anew, the stakes higher than she ever imagined. In the shifting shadows around her, she caught sight of Gerald wincing, his expression a mask of dread, and then she heard the low creak of a door opening at the far end of the ballroom, a wooden grind that sliced through the tension. Clara turned her head, instinctively drawn towards the sound. As the door swung wide, the air shifted again. The whispers stopped, replaced by a chilling silence. At the threshold stood a figure, obscured in darkness, silhouetted by the light spilling into the room, a watcher, a player, or perhaps something far more dangerous. Clara's breath caught in her throat, an unsettling premonition washing over her. "Who are you?" she demanded, stepping forward as the crowd recoiled, but the figure only smiled, the familiar shape igniting new fear, sharpened by an unexpected recognition. Before she could process the implications, the clock chimed its final stroke. The sound reverberated, drowning out the gasps of the crowd and cloaking Clara in a blanket of tension. All eyes turned toward her, waiting, what was going to happen when the last truth was unveiled? And as reality tilted, she wondered if they were all just as trapped as she was, caught in the intricate web of secrets, ready to unravel beneath the weight of revelation. Clara Gerald's voice was barely audible, breaking through the weight of anticipation. "We have to prepare ourselves for what's coming." But could they truly prepare for the wave of truths that were about to wash over them? And would they emerge as the same people they had been when the clock struck this fateful hour? A tension hung in the air like an unspent charge, and the guests stood frozen, eyes darting between Clara and the shadow at the door. With every breath she took, the sense of dread deepened, and something inside her screamed to flee. But she couldn't. Not now, not when the door had swung wide, revealing someone she recognized. It was Alice, the maid they had once dismissed as invisible among the glittering crowd, yet here she stood, her expression filled with a mixture of determination and fear. "Alice!" Clara called, her voice breaking through the silence. "What are you doing here?" Alice stepped into the light, and gasps radiated through the room. Her uniform gave her an air of authority that intensified the peculiar atmosphere. "I'm here to help," she said, her voice steady but laced with urgency. "You have to listen to me. The truth is darker than you can imagine." The man who had taunted Clara stepped forward, still wearing that sickening smile. "And here's where the fun begins," he said, eyes glinting. "We've all been yanked into this little play, but it's about to become so much more delicious." Clara felt her pulse quicken, the pull of curiosity battling against a rising tide of fear. "What do you mean?" she pressed, her voice trembling. "Every guest in this room has secrets," Alice continued, glancing warily at the man. "But you, Clara, you are the key. The clock has struck midnight, and everything will unravel. What you think you know is just a facade." With that, the ballroom seemed to shudder, the walls pulsing as if alive. Guests turned pale, panic flaring in their eyes. Clara's heart thudded, thumping against her ribs like a trapped bird. The reality of the situation was slowly starting to break through the layers of uncertainty. Gerald grabbed her arm, his grip firm but trembling. "We don't have time for riddles. We need to leave now," he urged, but Clara was rooted in place. "Wait!" she cried out, torn between fear and a relentless curiosity. There was something bigger at play, something that had been swirling around her, teasing and taunting. "Clara, listen to him," Alice said, urgency in her tone now. "You need to understand your family ties to this place go deeper than you think. The truth will come at a cost." "What do you mean?" Clara asked, her heart twisting with sudden dread. She had always known her family had history in the town, but had never thought it tied to a hotel shimmering with secrets. "Oh, how naive," the man chided, sneering at her. "Your grandmother was more than just a maid, she was bound to this hotel by a pact that runs blood deep." Gasps enveloped the room as Clara grappled with his words. Her world felt like it was tilting, the ground uncertain beneath her feet. Her mind raced through fragments of family stories, half-remembered tales she had dismissed as mere folklore. "That's enough," Gerald shouted. "This isn't the time for games, this is our lives." But the man stepped closer, his voice dropping to an intimate whisper that sent chills down Clara's spine. "Oh, but it's already too late. The threads have been woven. Once you see the truth, there's no going back." Panic surged within her. The realization loomed, their life as they knew it was about to shatter like glass. Clara tried to catch her breath, inhaling deep, but the air was electric with anticipation. "Clara!" Alice's voice was urgent again, shaking Clara from her thoughts. "You need to make a choice. The truth isn't just a killer, it's a double-edged sword. Choose wisely." Suddenly, another sound echoed, the crack of something breaking beyond the threshold of the door. It was a noise of danger, imminent and threatening. Clara turned. Her heart pounded like a drum. Would she run and save herself, or confront the tangled threads of her history? Before she could decide, the shadows danced once more, and the figure stepped forward ready to unveil a truth that could consume them all. What was the price Clara would pay to unearth the secrets that lay buried in her family's past? And would she be able to handle the storm that followed? Clara felt the world around her spin, the looming figure beyond the door growing ever closer, shrouded in darkness. Gerald's grip tightened on her arm, his eyes wide with horror. He muttered something about getting out, but all she could hear was the pulsing thud of her heart, competing with the pounding in her ears. "Alice!" Clara shouted, desperate for answers. "What do you know?" Alice's gaze flicked back and forth, torn between fear and the weight of her responsibility. "The pact!" she exclaimed, voice barely contained. "Your grandmother made a choice that affects us all. She bound her family to this place, and the consequences are about to be unleashed." The man sneered, stepping further into the light, revealing sharp features and dark eyes that sparkled with malice. "A pact? Oh, it's so much more than that, dear Clara," he said, his tone dripping with mockery. "It was a sacrifice, a deal with shadows that you cannot begin to comprehend." Laughter erupted from the other guests, the sound sent shivers down her spine. They were not mere onlookers, they were participants in this twisted game. Clara glanced around, searching for familiar faces, but all she found were masks of fear and anticipation. "What's about to happen?" Clara whispered, her voice trembling as she edged away from the man. "Listen to Alice." Gerald shouted again, his voice breaking the spell of confusion. "Let South just leave, this place is a trap." "Leave?" The man echoed, his voice low and dangerous. "And abandon the darkest secret that binds you? Clara, you are part of this story. You cannot walk away from your fate." Clara's heart raced as words crashed like waves against the shore of her mind. She felt herself being pulled into a current, a tide she couldn't resist. She thought of her family, her grandmother, and the stories she had pushed aside as fantasy. What cost did she pay? Clara asked, the question escaping her before she could think. The ultimate sacrifice, Alice replied, her eyes wide. Her life and the lives of generations bound to the hotel's curse. But you, Clara, you have a chance to break it. Before she could respond, the echo of breaking glass shattered the tension in the room. The door swung wide open, revealing a darkened hallway, thick with shadows inching closer as if alive. A bone-chilling wind swept through, carrying whispers that seemed to call her name. Clara. It hissed, seductive and ominous. Stay together. Gerald shouted, but even he faltered at the sight. The man stepped fully into the ballroom, revealing himself a phantom of elegance, cloaked in darkness. Wherever you turn is the path to your destiny, Clara, he said, voice slicing through the chaos. Face the truth, or it will consume you whole. Clara felt paralyzed, caught between the urge to flee and the pull of terrifying curiosity. What darker truth was buried within her bloodline? A horrifying thought emerged. Her grandmother's past wasn't just tangled with sacrifice, it was tied to bloodshed. Alice moved closer, her breath hitching. Clara, you must choose. Will you embrace your legacy, or will you let it destroy you like it did so many before? The air crackled as tension mounted, guests looked on, their expressions riddled with trepidation. Dark shadows lurked at the edges of her vision. Clara's pulse raced, and her chest tightened. But just as she thought she might manage a coherent thought, the lights flickered violently, plunging the entire ballroom into chaos. Gasps erupted, and screams cut through the confusion, like glass cracking underfoot. Clara felt herself slipping into a void, a turmoil of emotions swirling around her. She was on the edge, teetering on a precipice that threatened to plunge her into darkness. What choice would she dare to make? Was she bold enough to embrace her family's past, or would she turn her back and risk losing everyone she cared about? Suddenly, the shadows surged, enveloping the room. Clara realized that the true terror was not in what lay beyond the door but in what the hotel had been hiding, a legacy of horror that threatened to claim her. And within that moment, the whispers grew louder, echoing fiercely, choose now. What secret would come to light when morning broke? The darkness pressed down, thick and suffocating, as if trying to swallow them whole. Clara's breath quickened, the pounding in her chest drowning out every thought but one she had to choose. Gerald! She cried, reaching for him in a frantic attempt to anchor herself. But the shadows were thickening, twisting and coiling around her feet like serpents ready to strike. Gerald's face was pale, terror etched in every line. He took a step back, trembling. Clara, don't! He screamed, just as the lights flickered again, sending the room into a momentary blackout. She could hear them now, soft whispers flowing from the depths of the hallway, curling around her mind, promising secrets untold. Clara, join us now! She shouted, her voice rising above the chaos. I will not! The shadowy figure laughed, a low, rumbling sound that echoed in the void. Such spirit! You carry the fire of your ancestors. But fire can burn, and consume. Alice's eyes glimmered with desperation. Clara, you have to decide. If you don't act now, the darkness will claim you. Suddenly, the air thickened, and a bone-chilling chill swept through the room as a figure emerged from the void, a woman, ethereal and pale, dressed in a long black gown, her eyes hollow yet piercing. Clara recognized her instantly. Grandmother! Clara gasped, her heart constricting. The apparition smiled sadly, a world of regret trapped in her gaze. Clara, I sought to protect you. But my choices bind you to this place. Only you can break the cycle. What do you mean? Clara's voice trembled. How? The same choice I made in desperation, her grandmother whispered, words floating like fog. Sacrifice, for the sake of your family. It was never just a dark deal. It was survival. A cacophony of voices swirled around Clara, the crowd's murmurs mixing with her grandmother's ethereal plea. The man stepped closer, a wicked grin spreading across his face. "What will it be, Clara? Embrace your legacy and the power that comes with it, or flee into nothingness?" Clara's heart raced, every beat echoing in her ears like thunder. "I can't, you must," Alice cried, panic breaking in her voice. "The longer you wait, the worse it will be. Choose." With each passing second, the darkness crept closer. Clara could almost feel its icy fingers brushing against her skin, urging her forward. "I want to be a pawn," she shouted, defiance coating her words. "Ah, but there is no escaping the truth, dear Clara," the man taunted, stepping into the light. "The hotel has tasted blood and will demand its due. If you refuse, others will pay." In that moment, the room fell still. The guests around her stared in frozen silence, their faces pale and eyes wide. Time stretched as Clara felt the weight of her ancestors' pain, their struggles and sacrifices pressing down like an anchor. Clara turned back to her grandmother's wraith-like form. "What must I sacrifice?" "Confront the shadows within," her grandmother whispered. "Only then can you reclaim your power. Only then can you break the curse." The shadows surged, darker and more tumultuous. Clara's heart raced wildly in her chest as she faced the frigid waves of darkness lapping at her heels. She felt a pull toward the shadows, that ache of curiosity mingled with dread. Could she truly confront what lay within, the twisted legacy waiting to be uncovered? With a deep breath, Clara stepped toward the pulsating shadows. "I choose to face it." The laughter rose again, and it twisted in her gut, a sign of impending chaos. The moment she crossed into the darkness, a blinding light erupted from the depths, engulfing her, and she was thrust into a vision, glimpses of betrayal, blood, and untold secrets flashing before her eyes. What awaited her in this void? Would she find the truth behind her family's terrifying past, or would she lose herself forever in the shadows? The light flared brighter, threatening to consume everything in its path, and then it shattered like glass. What horrifying secrets would be unveiled next? Clara's vision exploded into a kaleidoscope of images, colors pouring into her consciousness like a torrential flood. She felt herself spinning, teetering on the jagged edge of reality. The shadows whispered and danced, weaving tightly around her. The echoes of her family's past beckoned her deeper into a chaos she never thought she'd confront. She landed hard, a jarring thud breaking the disorienting whirl, the ground solidifying beneath her feet. She was back in the hotel, but it felt different. Hazy anger filled the air, dark and heavy like a storm cloud about to break. Clara's chest tightened. This was more than just memories. It was a confrontation, a reckoning. Gerald and Alice hovered close, their eyes wide with concern, shadows flickering behind them like ghosts. "Clara!" Gerald shouted, his voice piercing through the darkness. "You need to stand firm." Clara connected with their eyes, her heart steadying. She drew strength from their presence. "I won't back down," she declared, her voice clear, cutting through the echoing whispers, unshaken. Suddenly, the figure of her grandmother emerged again, closer this time, her expression resolute but still haunted. "The choices we make shape our destinies. But remember, Clara, power comes with a price. To break our chains, you must embrace your truth, not just your past." "But what truth?" Clara asked, the implications crashing inside her like waves. "What past?" "Your lineage is more than just honor or shame," her grandmother replied, her voice a fierce wind. "You must confront the betrayal, the pact that binds our family to this hotel. Tonight's revelation isn't merely the legacy of my choices, it is the awakening of your own power." Clara's pulse quickened as the last fragments of darkness faded from her mind. She could see now the hotel was alive, its foundation pulsing like a heartbeat, tied to every person within its walls. The sacrifices made here had rooted deep, binding a curse meant to protect yet imprison. She thought of the whispers and the shadows. They were manifestations of years spent in silence, longing for recognition, for release, with newfound determination, she took a step toward the heart of the whirlwind. "I want to face my truth," she shouted. "No more hiding. No more fear." The shadows pulsed as if acknowledging her declaration, swirling around her. "Very well," the man appeared again, his sneer faltering momentarily. "Then let us unearth the shadows that lurk in your heart." And so it began. A surge of power exploded from Clara, a brilliant light cascading outward, illuminating the past. In vivid colors, she saw the broken sacrifices, the betrayal of a grandmother forced to bind her family within these walls, and the incomplete threads of sacrifice that had ensnared generations. Each revelation rang loud, shattering chains that had rooted her ancestors in despair. As flames of clarity roared, Clara felt herself transcending the fear that once held her captive. She spun, controlling the energy now flowing through her, redirecting it outward. The man faltered, surprise etching across his malevolent face. "You how?" he gasped, losing grip over the shadows. "Because I choose freedom," Clara called, her voice now resonating as one with the light. "I reject your hold over us. Whatever pact my family made doesn't define us anymore." The light surged, enveloping everything in its embrace, banishing the darkness. Guests who once hovered in fearful silence rushed toward her, drawn by the transformation, feeling the strength of her truth drawing them close. Gerald moved beside her, grabbing her hand. "Whatever it costs, we do this together," he declared. Alice stood firm, grounding Clara. "The shadows may linger, but together, we rise." The man, the very personification of all their nightmares, stumbled backward, his power dissipating under the bright flames of honesty. "You cannot escape," he hissed, the last vestiges of his control evaporating. But in that moment, Clara realized the shadows were not just foes, they were the ghosts of her past, the pain of her family's history wanting to be recognized. Healed. "I'm sorry for what was done," she whispered into the light, acknowledging them. "But we are not bound by your legacy anymore. We write our own future." As she spoke, the swirling shadows paused, comprehension dawning on their spectral faces. Clara felt their acceptance wash over her, and as the last shutters of darkness melted away, the ballroom erupted into light. The shadows faded into nothingness, the moment passed, and a peaceful quiet fell. The guests blinked back at the sudden brightness, the oppressive sense of fear now lifting like fog over open ground. Clara gasped, the weight of the revelation settling. She had chosen freedom over fear, truth over silence. They were free, and the pact was broken. Clara turned to see Gerald and Alice smiling, tears gleaming in their eyes, relief palpable in the room. It was a strange echo of joy when she realized the truth. The hotel wasn't just bricks and decor, it was their collective past and future, now rooted in hope. "We'll move forward together," she promised herself, meeting the eyes of her friends. "Toward a future we'll define, unbound by the price of the past." As a new day broke outside, illuminating the luxurious surroundings, Clara felt the warmth of renewed promise. They had all claimed their freedom, their truth, and with that came the beginning of everything anew. And so, my friends, if you've enjoyed this thrilling journey with Clara, hear this. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that are on the horizon. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Maybe you've got reactions and theories. Flood the comments section with your thoughts about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support makes all the difference. Be part of this community that thrives on truth and connection.